You love to see the advance of alternative media, don't you? You love to see them getting to places they otherwise haven't been. And in this case, I was pleasantly surprised to see my buddy Tim Pool arrive in the White House, specifically in the press pools who asked questions of the representative of the Trump administration. And I figure we'd just see it for ourselves, because it's caused quite a stir.
Many of the news organizations that are represented in this room have marched in lockstep on false narratives, such as the Very Fine People hoax, the Covington smear, and now what's being called the Maryland Man hoax, where an MS-13 gang member adjudicated by 2 different judges, I believe, is just simply being referred to as a Maryland Man over and over again. Now, in an effort from the White House to expand access to new companies, you've created this new media seat. So I'm wondering if you can comment on, following this expansion, you've had numerous outlets disparage the companies that you've had sit here, as well as the reporters. I'm wondering if you could comment on that unprofessional behavior, as well as elaborate if there's any plans to expand access to new companies.
Sure.
So this is quite a seminal moment in the history of the way that media works. For the entirety of the 20th century, what we call legacy media had everything locked down, and it was institutional. And Tim Pool used to be part of these institutions. He used to work for Vice and a couple of other millennial new media companies. And then he went alone on his own, built his own platform, and has been outside of their control for quite some time. So Tim, you never actually know where he's going to land on any particular issue, because he doesn't have an institutional editorial line that he has to follow. And so he gets to have his own opinion. And sometimes, because he's a bit of a contrarian, as many of us in the new media are, he will just come out with an opinion that he thinks is his own. And I'm sure they are. And so this is important. This shows us that the old guard is waning. And what the Trump administration is doing here is normalizing a new, more democratic kind of media, which the left, you would think, who are so concerned about democracy, would be very much in favor of. And it's interesting how Tim Pool's question is about that. It's about the fact that the old guard media, frankly, just spend their time lying. The Maryland Man hoax, as he points out, the guy was from El Salvador. He's not from Maryland. He's an illegal alien. He's not from Maryland. Why are they saying? Because he was arrested and deported from Maryland, where he shouldn't have been because he was an illegal alien. So you can see why the new media is actually doing a better job than the old media in this regard, because Tim's not actually incentivized to lie. He's not there to protect something. He's got his own set of interests, which he, I think, identifies with the American public as a whole. And it's in the American public's interest to know why they're being lied to about the immigration status and sort of ethnic disposition of the Maryland Man. Why are they lying? And so Tim comes in and asks a question that at once is a cutting edge against the old media and opens up the door to the new media. And she goes on to answer it. And that's not at all what people talked about. This is a kind of historic moment for new media gaining legitimacy in the eyes of the current establishment, and clearly a sign of how things will end up becoming as things go forward. Because people like Tim Pool, people like us, well, CNN gets like 500,000 views a day. Like, a lot of new media platforms do way, way better than that. Way better. And so, and Tim Pool represents part of this kind of vanguard of new media going into the future. And it's I think, quite good that the Trump administration has recognized this, and I guess I would say that since we're a new media company. But the point being is nobody wanted to talk about what is basically a historic first by Tim Pool. They wanted to talk about how he was dressed. Now, it's just a coincidence that this happened on a day where I happened to be wearing a 3-piece suit in the office. Normally I'm not, although I do try to dress quite nicely. And I can see the criticisms. I mean, I can accept that Tim wears the beanie in the White House, but bro, come on. Bro, come on, what are you wearing? This was an open goal for them to start hammering you. And so a bunch of people are like, well, look, why are they just making fun of his wardrobe? They don't deny what he said was the truth, so they deflect, which is correct. Tim asked an incisive question that actually is worthy of being asked, and all they're like, well, you criticize Zelensky for turning up at the White House not in a suit. And it's like, okay, couple of points. One, Tim Pool isn't a world leader. Zelensky is. Maybe he should dress for the part. Two, how much money has America given Tim Pool, the American government given Tim Pool? If the answer is 0, which I think it might be, then actually the same standard might not apply. But I have to say, I kind of agree. Bro, you should have worn a suit. You should have worn a suit. Basically, like, you shouldn't have given them the open, right? Because now they're not talking about the point that you raised, which was a really good point and worthy of being asked. Now they're just going, "Oh, you didn't wear a suit," blah blah blah. And you could have sidestepped it, mate. And I think you ought to have done. But the point is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, and it's not really about Tim anyway. What it's about is a historic moment where new media have made a breakthrough here, and it's great to see. I mean, one of my mates goes to the White House and gets to ask a question of the press officer. That's such a great thing to have happen. Like, this is amazing. Like, this is a great new frontier, and my friend Tim is the one who crossed it. That is so good. I'm so pleased for him that he got to do this. And everyone going on about his dress, well, look, that's just petty, right? At the end of the day, this is very petty. Although, like I said, fundamentally, I do actually agree. The standards should be upheld, and you should probably be wearing a suit, bro. But, you've given everyone a chance to dunk on you. And it's like, oh, man, don't give them the opportunity. And I've got to say, and it's come from both left and right, actually. Tim Pool, the eternal fence sitter, has managed to land on the fence once again and got both the left and the right angry at him. This was funny, though, I have to admit. Tim Pool looked, this is a parody of an old Trump tweet. Tim Pool looked disgusting, beanie protruding, his black hoodie at the White House, very, very disrespectful. I mean, that is genuinely funny. I can see why so many people enjoyed it. But yeah, anyway, the point that I really want to drive home with this is just, Tim didn't dress as if he's from within the institutions, but let's be fair, he's come from outside of the institutions. And through his own graft, has managed to break into the mainstream for them. So, I mean, in a way, you can't be that surprised that he's not dressed for the occasion. He's dressed for the job that he has, not the job that he wants. And I know that there's a part of me that kind of appreciates the kind of like punk insurrection of it, even though, like I said, I actually, when push comes to shove, and if I was like, look, should Tim Pool wear a suit and should not, I'm going to land on the he should probably wear a suit side of it. But I do admire that he didn't, in a way, even though I think it was the wrong thing to do, and next time he should wear a suit. And he'll say, yeah, but I'm bowing to pressure. No. Even they'll claim that, but it doesn't matter what they think. These people are idiots. It really doesn't matter. And what was interesting is that afterwards he did a show, and he said, "Look, I found the people in the press booth to be unimpressive people who are basically uncurious and just literally just there to do their job. Like, no one who actually wants to do the job. They're just punching their cards and just doing their time and just doing the bare minimum that needs to be done." It's like, yeah, but why would they do anything else? I mean, don't get me wrong, obviously it's bad. But you can see why there'd be no incentive for them to do anything else. What do they care? What do they care? Why is it anything that bothers them? But Tim is in a different position. He's doing this out of conviction, for the love of what he's doing. And he actually wants to get information, get results. They don't care. It's not their business, really, is what we're saying. So essentially what Tim has done here is shown us why it would be better to have alternative media, new media, in the White House over the old media. Because the old media tends to generally just ask questions in the approved and prescribed boundaries that are for the interests of the institutions and not for the interests of the general public at large. I would like to hear more questions that come from the position of someone who's concerned about what the general public at large is concerned about. And the only people who can really ask questions like that are people who come from the outside. So I think this was a really great thing. I'm really pleased that the Trump administration allowed this. I do hope they'll open up more new media seats. I personally am never going to fly to Washington just to do this because I hate traveling so much. I just can't stand it. But I really want to see more new media in there asking the questions that people actually want answered, rather than the latest safe question about, oh, how can we glaze Fauci some more? Blah 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 blah. Like, I'm not interested in those. I want actual questions, and I don't want to sound partisan about this either. I'm happy for left wing. I'm happy for Hassan Piker to be in there, right? I would love to see Hassan Piker in there asking questions of the Trump representatives who have to answer them. That'd be great. I'd love it if Stephen Miller got to come out sometime and just dress down. That'd be brilliant as far as I'm concerned. So, and I think one of the main problems that we have is a lack of adversarial conversations in the media, right? You'll notice that all of the media, the old media apparatchiks, are all in their silos, right? Like, you know, the Fox guys talk to Fox guys, the CNN guys talk to CNN guys, the MSNBC guys talk to MSNBC guys, and they never go on each other's shows. And the one time it happens, it's like a revolutionary moment. It's like everyone's like, oh my God, so-and-so is talking to so-and-so. It's like, yeah, but why aren't we having these conversations regularly? And this will be a fairly close way of making it happen, because at least the narrative from the official, from the president, and I don't expect this kind of outsider energy to last forever in America. So like, you know, the Trump administration being constantly grilled by an oppositional press, that's not going to be how it is forever. It's going to be the corporate president with the corporate press, and they'll all basically agree on the very narrow band of things that they want to discuss. I want those people outside of that who can then bring in the opposition to the narrative and get them to say things that you didn't expect them to say.